Franz Reichelt jumped to prove his suit worked. We often imagine inventors as detached, triumphant architects of progress, who operate from the safety of sterile laboratories. Yet history reveals a far darker reality, where the boundary between a creator's genius and their instrument of execution is terrifyingly thin. This is not merely a collection of unfortunate workplace accidents, but a deep, recurring psychological phenomenon, where the absolute certainty of a brilliant mind blinds them to the basic laws of physics. When a creator spends years staring at a blueprint, they begin to view their machine not as an unpredictable assembly of iron and chemical reactions, but as an extension of their own physical body, leading to a fatal overconfidence that the universe refuses to tolerate. Every major leap in human capability demands these silent, forgotten battlegrounds, where inventors stood face to face with their own creations and lost. To understand how these brilliant minds fell victim to their own masterpieces, we must look past the dry textbook summaries, and examine the exact moments when their supreme confidence collided with the brutal, unyielding reality of their own designs. What follows is a journey through the lives of those who signed their own death warrants in ink and steel, proving that the most dangerous thing an inventor can build is their own legacy. The true catalyst behind these tragic historical ironies is never a simple mechanical failure, but rather the inventor's profound, almost religious intimacy with their machine, which breeds a dangerous familiarity that completely blinds them to the latent physical violence of their own designs. In the bustling, soot-stained printing houses of Philadelphia, William Bullock sought to revolutionize the spread of human knowledge by designing a rotary press that could automatically feed paper continuously through massive, spinning iron rollers at unprecedented speeds. His machine worked beautifully, churning out thousands of newspapers a day and transforming the media landscape, but Bullock treated this roaring, multi-ton beast of gears and iron shafts not as a deadly industrial hazard, but as a perfectly obedient servant. He would often walk among the moving parts while the steam engine was fully engaged, adjusting belts and oiling gears with a casual disregard for the immense kinetic energy vibrating through the floorboards. His workers watched in silent terror as he routinely bypassed safety protocols, driven by a manic obsession to keep the presses rolling at all costs, convinced that his intimate knowledge of the machine's anatomy made him entirely immune to its dangers. He believed he knew every gear, every tooth, and every tension point so intimately that the machine could never harm the hand that had sketched it into existence. On a humid afternoon in April, Bullock noticed a slight misalignment in a driving belt and, rather than shutting down the steam engine, he raised his heavy boot to kick a spinning drive wheel directly into place. He expected the belt to slip smoothly back onto its track, but the sheer momentum of the heavy iron wheel had other plans for the creator who dared to treat it so casually. The massive metal wheel caught his foot instantly, crushing his leg into a horrific mass of splintered bone and torn flesh that quickly festered with gangrene in the pre-antibiotic era. As doctors desperately prepped him for an emergency amputation to save his life, Bullock realized his revolutionary machine had not just printed the news of the day, but had effectively written his own obituary. He died on the operating table, his heart failing under the strain of the infection, proving that the very speed he engineered to accelerate human progress had ultimately accelerated his own demise. His death sent shockwaves through the industrial world, yet the lesson of his demise went unheeded by a new generation of inventors who sought to conquer even more volatile forces. Across the ocean, in the post-war German laboratory of Max Valier, the dream of spaceflight took the form of highly volatile liquid fuels, which he harnessed to build rocket-powered cars that screamed across frozen lakes at terrifying velocities. Valier believed that liquid oxygen and gasoline held the key to escaping Earth's gravity, and he spent months hunched over noisy test benches, ignoring the toxic fumes and the unstable nature of his highly pressurized fuel mixtures. Yet while Bullock's death was a slow, agonizing descent, Valier's final moment would be so sudden that his mind would not even have time to register the failure of his own design. As he leaned in close to adjust the fuel flow on his latest rocket prototype, a sudden, deafening roar shook the concrete walls, leaving his assistants to discover a scene of absolute devastation. The combustion chamber of Valier's rocket had ruptured under extreme pressure, sending a razor-sharp shard of hot shrapnel tearing through his chest and severing his aorta before he could even take a step back. He bled to death on his own workshop floor within minutes, a pioneer slain by the very fire he hoped would carry humanity to the cosmos, leaving behind a legacy written in blood and rocket fuel. This pattern of fatal overconfidence spans across continents and decades, catching up even with those who sought to solve the most intimate human struggles, such as the brilliant but tragic industrial chemist Thomas Midgley Jr., who had already inadvertently poisoned the global atmosphere with his inventions of leaded gasoline and chlorofluorocarbons, found himself struck down by polio in the autumn of his life. Unable to move his legs, the fiercely independent inventor refused to rely on nurses, instead designing an incredibly complex system of ropes, pulleys and motorized harnesses suspended above his bed to lift his paralyzed frame. He boasted to his friends that his mechanical hoist was a masterpiece of domestic engineering, a perfect solution that restored his agency without requiring human assistance. On a quiet November morning, his wife walked into his bedroom to find the motorized system whirring loudly. But her husband was not suspended triumphantly in the air. The ropes had tangled themselves in a bizarre, chaotic knot around the machinery, and Midgley was completely silent, his eyes wide with a realization that came far too late. The very ropes he had engineered to grant him freedom had wrapped tightly around his neck during a motorized malfunction, strangling him to death in his own bed before he could reach the emergency shutoff switch. The man who had survived working with some of the most toxic chemicals known to science was ultimately undone by a simple clothesline and a set of wooden pulleys. This brings us back to the icy ledge of the Eiffel Tower, where Franz Reichelt stood in 1912, convinced that his wearable parachute suit would save the lives of falling aviators. Reichelt had spent years tailoring the suit, testing it on dummies dropped from his apartment window with mixed results. Yet he refused to believe his calculations could be flawed. When he arrived at the tower, the authorities believed he would use a dummy for the demonstration. But Reichelt shocked them by announcing he would make the jump himself to prove his absolute faith in his invention. He stood on the freezing metal, hesitated for 40 agonizing seconds as his friends begged him to step back, and then leaped into the void. His heavy silk suit failed to open, wrapping around him like a shroud as he plummeted to the earth, proving that the greatest danger to an inventor is not the failure of their machine, but their own refusal to test it safely. He died instantly upon impact, leaving behind a haunting film reel that serves as a grim monument to the fatal cost of absolute certainty. When we look closely at these tragic deaths, we realize that these inventors did not die from bad luck or simple engineering errors, but from a profound cognitive bias that mistakes a mental model for physical reality. The creator becomes so deeply enamored with the elegance of their idea that they forget the physical universe does not care about human intent, beauty or genius. This blind spot is the true cost of innovation. The very drive required to build something completely new requires a level of confidence that borders on madness, making the inventor uniquely vulnerable to their own creation. The machine does not recognize its master. It only obeys the cold, unyielding laws of gravity, friction and chemical combustion without prejudice. If these brilliant minds, with all their calculations and expertise, could not foresee the lethal traps they were building for themselves, we must ask how many of our modern technologies carry similar, hidden self-destruct mechanisms. We continue to build increasingly complex systems, from artificial intelligence to genetic engineering, fully convinced that we are the masters of our creations. The ultimate irony of progress is that the tools we design to liberate us often end up dictating the terms of our survival, leaving us to wonder if we are merely repeating the fatal mistakes of the past on a global scale. As we push the boundaries of what is possible, we must remember that the line between a breakthrough and a tombstone is often written in the fine print of our own designs. Which of these tragic inventors do you think fell victim to the most preventable mistake? And does our current obsession with rapid technological progress mean we are destined to build an invention that will ultimately destroy us all?